Have you ever noticed how some people in their 70s and beyond seem so peaceful and content, while others are constantly stressed and overwhelmed? The difference often comes down to what they've learned to let go of. Today, I'm sharing 7 things you should absolutely stop doing after 70 if you want true peace of mind. And let me tell you, number 6 surprised even me. It's something most of us have been doing our entire lives without questioning. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which habits and mindsets are stealing your joy and how to replace them with ones that bring genuine tranquility. I've seen these changes transform lives, including my own mother's, and I can't wait to share them with you. Item 1. Stop apologizing for your age. You know that moment when someone asks your age and you find yourself saying, "I'm 73, with that slight hesitation or apologetic tone, as if the number itself is something to be embarrassed about? That stops today. Every single year you've lived is a triumph, a collection of experiences, wisdom, and survival that younger people haven't earned yet. When you apologize for your age, you're actually buying into the harmful narrative that aging is something negative rather than the extraordinary privilege it truly is. Here's what to do instead. First, practice saying your age with pride. Stand tall, make eye contact, and state it confidently like the achievement it is. Try saying, "I'm 75, and I've earned every wonderful year." Or, "At 82, I've collected more amazing stories than most people half my age." Second, surround yourself with positive aging role models. Whether it's friends who embrace their age or public figures like Jane Fonda or Morgan Freeman who continue thriving well into their later years. And finally, catch yourself when you're about to apologize or make self-deprecating age jokes. Replace those moments with statements of gratitude for the privilege of longevity. If you're enjoying these tips so far, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I share new wisdom for thriving in your golden years every week, and I'd love to have you join our community of people embracing this beautiful stage of life. Item 2. Stop holding on to grudges. Let's be honest, by the time you've reached 70, you've probably collected quite a few legitimate reasons to be angry at people. That cousin who borrowed money and never returned it, the neighbor who spread rumors, or even adult children who don't visit as often as they should. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Those grudges are like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. They're literally harmful to your health. Research shows that holding on to resentment increases stress hormones, raises blood pressure, and can even compromise your immune system, none of which you can afford at this stage of life. Instead, try these approaches. First, practice what psychologists call radical acceptance. Acknowledging that while you can't change what happened, you can change how it affects you now. Say to yourself, "Yes, that happened. It wasn't fair, but continuing to suffer over it is my choice." Second, consider writing a forgiveness letter, even if you never send it. The act of expressing your feelings and then consciously choosing to let them go can be incredibly liberating. And third, remind yourself that your time and energy are your most precious resources now. Do you really want to spend them reliving old wounds instead of creating new joys? I had a client named Margaret who held a 30-year grudge against her sister over an inheritance dispute. When she finally let it go at 75, she told me she felt like she'd put down a 100-pound backpack she didn't even realize she'd been carrying. Item 3. Stop deferring joy. You know what I hear all too often? "I'll travel when I lose 10 pounds. Or, "I'll take that art class when I have more energy." Or, "I'll wear that bright outfit when I'm in better shape." But here's the reality. Check we all need, there is no perfect moment waiting in the future. If there's one thing we know with certainty at this stage of life, it's that time is not an infinite resource. Think about it. How many experiences have you already postponed until someday? And how many of those somedays have actually arrived? Deferring joy is a habit many of us developed in our younger years, always saving the best for later. But now is the time to break that pattern. Instead, make a no-defer list. Write down all the experiences you've been putting off and commit to doing at least one this month. Practice what I call imperfect enjoyment. Give yourself permission to enjoy activities, even if conditions aren't ideal. So what if you can't hike as far as you used to? The birds and trees don't care. Start using the good china, wearing your favorite outfits, and burning the fancy candles. Now is exactly the time they were meant for. I'd love to hear in the comments, What's one joy you've been deferring that you're ready to embrace this week? Your example might be just what someone else needs to hear. Item 4. Stop surrounding yourself with negative people. Now, this one might ruffle some feathers, but it needs to be said. At this stage of life, you've earned the right to be selective about who gets your time and energy. You know exactly who. I'm talking about the friend who begins every conversation with a health complaint and ends it with a gloomy news update. The relative who finds a problem for every solution. The neighbor who can turn even a beautiful sunny day into something to complain about. Studies show that after just 30 minutes with a highly negative person, your own thought patterns begin to change. Your stress hormones increase, and your immune function can even be temporarily compromised. That's not something any of us can afford, especially now. Here's how to make this change without causing unnecessary drama. Start diluting toxic relationships by spending less time with energy drains and more time with those who lift you up. Develop gentle exit strategies for conversations that turn negative. Something simple like, I understand things are tough, but I'm trying to focus on positive thoughts for my health these days. Actively seek out optimistic peers through community classes, volunteer work, or groups focused on shared interests rather than shared complaints. If you're finding these tips helpful, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Our community is growing and I'd love for you to be part of it. I share new insights every week, specifically designed for thriving in this wonderful stage of life. Item 5. Stop accumulating possessions. Let's talk about something many of us don't want to acknowledge. The sheer amount of stuff we've collected over 7 or more decades of life. Those shelves of knickknacks, closets full of clothes, just in case, garages packed with tools for projects you'll probably never get to, and basements or attics overflowing with items you haven't seen in years. Each of these possessions doesn't just take up physical space. They demand emotional and mental energy too. They require cleaning, organizing, maintenance, and ultimately, they create anxiety about what will happen to them someday. I had a client named Robert who put off downsizing for years. When he finally began at 78, he told me, I thought I was organizing my possessions, but they were actually disorganizing my life. Here's how to start letting go. Begin with the 10-10-10 method. Every week, find 10 items to trash, 10 to donate, and 10 to give to specific people who would appreciate them. Ask yourself the peace of mind. Question about each item. Does keeping this bring me peace, or would letting it go bring me peace? Be honest with the answer. Create a legacy plan for truly valuable or sentimental items. Having a clear idea of where special possessions will go often makes it easier to enjoy them now without worry. Remember, the goal isn't to get rid of everything. It's to be surrounded only by things that truly bring you joy or serve a purpose in your current life, not your past or imagined future life. Have you started decluttering? Share your experience in the comments. Your success story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to get started on their own journey. Item 6. Stop trying to please everyone. Now, here's the one that shocked me the most when I realized how common it is, even among people in their 70s, 80s, and beyond, the need to please everyone around you. Think about it. How many times in the past month have you said yes when you wanted to say no? How often have you agreed to babysit when you were exhausted? Attended an event that drained you? Or kept quiet about your preferences to avoid rocking the boat? Many of us, especially women of our generation, were raised to be accommodating, to put others first, and to value harmony above all. And while these aren't bad qualities, taking them to extremes has likely cost you decades of peace. Here's the liberating truth. At this stage of life, you have absolutely earned the right to prioritize your own well-being. Not only that, but setting healthy boundaries actually improves relationships rather than harming them. Try these approaches. Practice the pause technique. When asked to do something, say, let me check my schedule and get back to you. Instead of automatically saying yes, create a personal peace of mind policy. I don't make commitments after 7 p.m. Or I save my mornings for personal time. Or I don't babysit more than once a week. Remember that no is a complete sentence. You don't need elaborate excuses or justifications for your decisions. About your own time and energy, the most surprising thing I've found is that when my clients start setting these boundaries, they discover that most people actually respect them more, not less. And those who don't respect your boundaries, Well, they're telling you something important about how much they value your well-being. Item 7. Stop postponing meaningful conversations. The final thing to stop doing after 70 is perhaps the most important: postponing meaningful conversations. Whether it's expressing forgiveness, sharing important life wisdom, telling someone how much they mean to you, or having necessary end-of-life discussions with family, now is the time. I can't tell you how many people I've worked with who waited until a health crisis forced these conversations, often under stress and sometimes too late to have them properly. These conversations aren't just for the benefit of others. They bring profound peace to you as well. There's a special kind of tranquility that comes from knowing you've spoken your truth, shared your wisdom, and put your affairs in order. Here's how to approach these conversations. Start with written notes if direct conversations feel too challenging at first. Letters or even emails can open the door to deeper discussions. Frame important conversations as gifts rather than burdens. I'd like to share some thoughts with you because you're important to me, rather than we need to talk about some serious things. Use the "if I only had 1 year left" filter. If your time was knowingly limited, what would you make sure to say and to whom? Then say those things now, while you can deliver them with clarity and presence. Remember that these conversations don't have to be somber or heavy. Sharing your life stories, the lessons you've learned, and the values you hope to pass on can be filled with laughter, wisdom, and love. So there you have it, the 7 things to stop doing after 70. If you want genuine peace of mind, stop apologizing for your age. Stop holding grudges, stop deferring joy. Stop surrounding yourself with negative people. Stop accumulating possessions. Stop trying to please everyone, and stop postponing meaningful conversations. The beautiful thing about this list is that you can start implementing any of these changes today. You don't need special equipment, expensive programs, or even much time, just the willingness to prioritize your peace of mind as the precious resource it is. I'd love to know which of these resonated most with you. Drop a comment below sharing which one you're going to work on first. Your insight might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear. If you found this helpful, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss next week's video on 5 Morning. Rituals that transform your day after 70. Until then, remember that peace of mind isn't just a luxury. At this stage of life, it's an absolute necessity you've more than earned.